Sounds good. All right, everybody. This is awesome. Hello up above. It's great. So hello and welcome to our luncheon presentation. It's really fantastic to see all of you today. So as we move past these COVID restrictions, it's truly important for our mental health to get out and be with one another and socializing, not being behind that computer. So I just want to thank you for improving your mental health at the BioForward Summit. I do want to point out at your tables, we do have a few copies of the 2022 Wisconsin BioHealth Economic Impact Report. And our digital report, you can get it with the QR codes. And like I told the session, we also have it on our website under our advocacy tab. It is also loaded and you can view it there. I did want to show some of the key data. I know some of you were either at the student competition or the Theranostics panel. You can see by the data, our industry is critically important to this state, not only in 2022 by what all these numbers are saying, but into the future. So be watching our website in a few weeks as we add more information on how to utilize this report. Again, I know it's a big report, so that's why we like to break it down into pieces for people. So be watching for that. That will be coming out on our website in the next few weeks. So, and now, it is an honor to recognize outstanding achievement in business and research, individuals who have shaped our Wisconsin biohealth industry and made an impact on human health. We have already had a great keynote. Thank you, Ethan. He had his back. Where did he go now? Where did Ethan go? Oh, man, come on. I was going to highlight him. So anyway, you were a great keynote, Ethan. And some excellent panels. Thank you to the Theranostics, the Economic Impact, and our student competition. And congratulations, they all did a great job. And now we can be inspired by the stories and achievements of our awardees, Nancy Kendrick and James Cook. Before we begin our awards presentation, I would like to introduce Nicholas Paris, our chair-elect of the BioForward Board of Directors, CEO of Gilson, to say a few words.
Thank you. I'm kind of the Columbo of presentation. I'm always looking for my papers here. So on behalf of BioForward, and sorry for the voice, warm welcome to all of you. It's very good to embracing that view with all of you on site, representing the whole industry. So that's really heartwarming, and that's really nice. I'll be brief because you're all in the middle of your lunch here. BioForward is your voice. It's the collective voice of Wisconsin and collective voice of the biohealth industry. You are an amazing ecosystem. And I always use the word ecosystem because it's diverse. And the ecosystem is not only the people and the companies here. It always gravitates around it. It's an ecosystem that you develop and that we develop together. You have that wonderful mission to improve people's life. And you are a cluster that approaches that endeavor with a slightly different approach, with more humanity, with more respect, and an incredible engagement and commitment to the mission you have. So BioForward is very proud to represent you and to be that voice. And you want to help others. It's also our mission to help you with the different tools like talent, networking, advocacy, education, all the work we do, with the administration, the legislature, all of our interested parties. We do it for you. So BioForward is your organization here. And BioForward is at first a team. So I don't know which slide we have here. An incredible team led by Lisa Johnson. No, we don't present here. With Corinne, with Mike. I see Mike here, with Mo, is somewhere here, with Risa, who I especially want to congratulate because she's the one gathering us together here. And Macy and Julia, and I see Jordan here, and also Chad, who support our organization on the daily basis. So for that, I would like a huge clap for that team who's doing marvelous. BioForward is also a board of directors, representing all of you because they come from all the different segments of the industry. And they're not just like the regular board, you know, like there's always a mystique about board meetings where you have people attending or not attending and falling asleep and do nothing. No. The board that I'm proud to lead is a very active board. Hands-on, being able to define and steer the strategy of BioForward, listening to you, but also like operate that transformation and evolution, being hands-on on the actions that you have. So here again, thank you for the board. It's a very few people who can who achieve that kind of things, like moving the community together as the team is doing. Now, because I don't want to take too much of your remaining time for lunch, I would like to acknowledge a long-term partner of BioForward, WEDC. WEDC, yes, is the lunch sponsor, so we can thank them for the good food and for allowing that social event between us. So that's very nice. But it's not only about providing us food. WEDC is really much a long-standing support of our industry, and as our ecosystem takes more space, more room in Wisconsin. Well, we're pretty sure that it will also grow further and bigger within WEDC because our industry is getting to be a major industry in the state. So I'm happy to introduce you to Katie Sinnott, who is the VP Global Trade and Investment for WEDC, and she will give us a few words. Thank you very much, and a good rest of your day.
Good afternoon, everyone. So biohealth is incredibly important to Wisconsin. We were talking earlier about how modest we are as Wisconsinites. I'm not in that group. So I go all over the world with all my colleagues and talk about biohealth every single day. We support you today happily, but we also support you when we go overseas on our trade ventures. We have roundtables constantly raising awareness about the importance of this industry in the state of Wisconsin. We also celebrate the wins of Wisconsin. Recent wins include Exact Science, MilliporeSigma, Arrowhead, and others. But we also have quiet wins. My team has a collaborative market access grant that allows many smaller companies that are in this industry to attend trade shows and make connections that they would never have made before. So we're thrilled to be part of that quiet story too. We also have, the Entrepreneurship and Innovation team run by Aaron Hager. He's around here somewhere with all of his team. And they do amazing things for startups. They work with innovative companies like Shine that become the innovators of tomorrow, making lives better for everyone around the world. They also support critical places like Forward Bio Labs, resources like SBR, and support for investor capital, gap financing. It is never too early to contact Aaron and his team. It is essential that as companies are getting off the ground that they contact him to see what the opportunities are within WEDC for funding. Lastly, we heard earlier about the exciting economic impact of this industry. It's incredibly important that we learn about that every year because as we learn about the growth areas, we know where the funding should go. When we hear about weaknesses, we also know where more funding should go. WEDC invests in this report every year with BioForward. We contribute 50% to that report. All of this is to say that biohealth remains front and center with us, whether we're helping grow innovators of tomorrow, encouraging companies to land and expand in Wisconsin, or finding collaboration opportunities for our companies already here, for our universities, and for our organizations. We are proud and loud supporters of the biohealth industry in Wisconsin. Thank you.
You can see this is, I mean, it's really dangerous. So you got to be super careful. All right. We have the next slide up then? Okay. Okay. We will now begin our awards presentation as we honor two extraordinary individuals for their achievements. The first will be Dr. James Cook, receiving the 2022 Hector F. DeLuca Scientific Achievement Award. We are now in our 8th year with these awards. They're handcrafted awards by Tim Killinger of Mount Horeb, and they're lovely, who handcrafted them. Tim cannot be with us this year, and it distressed him because this means a lot to him to watch this awards presentation, but we really appreciate his artistry and pride that goes into these awards. This award is named after Hector F. DeLuca, our first awardee in 2015, whose research dating back to the 1960s centered on the understanding of the metabolism and mechanism of vitamin D and vitamin A compounds in the treatment of disease. He has been an influential researcher, educator, and innovator, and has had tremendous impact on the University of Wisconsin-Madison and certainly on human health. We are sorry Dr. DeLuca cannot be physically with us, but he is here in spirit. And he's such a joy when he used to be able to come. It meant so much to him, but I know he will be so honored that you are receiving this award, Dr. Cook. We have had many great honorees for this award, from Dr. DeLuca, Dr. James Thompson, Dr. Lynn Allen Hoffman, Dr. Alan Cowley, Dr. Rock Mackey, Dr. Mary Horowitz, and last year, Dr. Fred Lee. This year's awardee personifies ingenuity and perseverance to treat some of our worst diseases, especially neurological disorders. He has summarized well from the last sentence of his bio. Dr. James Cook has spent his career designing drugs to address an incredibly broad scope of patient-critical disorders, leveraging both his deep knowledge of chemistry and neuroscience and strong academic and industry partnerships. To tell us more about Dr. Cook, I would like to present Doug Stafford, who will be presenting the Hector F. DeLuca Scientific Achievement Award. Please stand. No, don't stand yet. That was wrong. Gosh darn it, I hate when I don't get things right in my I have this system. So I'm sorry, don't stand for Doug yet.
But go ahead and clap, that would be fine. Thank you, Lisa. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Doug Stafford. Please hold the applause. And it is indeed my honor to introduce Dr. James Cook to receive this year's Hector F. DeLuca Scientific Achievement Award. Jim's impressive achievements make him eminently deserving of this recognition, and I have the daunting task of summarizing his accomplishments in just a few minutes. Jim began his scientific journey at the West Virginia University, where he received a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry with honors in 1967. And in 1971, he completed his PhD work in organic chemistry under Professor Philip LeQuesne at the University of Michigan. He went on to join Professor James Cutney's group at the University of British Columbia as a postdoctoral associate. Then came to Wisconsin and was hired as an assistant professor in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry at UW-Milwaukee in 1973, quickly advanced up the academic ladder, and was named University Distinguished Professor in 2002. I had the pleasure of first meeting Jim in 2011 when I was hired as the first director of the Milwaukee Institute for Drug Discovery, what we call the MIDD, which Jim was instrumental in founding and also funding an initial hire of drug discovery faculty. When I first met Jim when joining MIDD, I was struck literally with the weight of his work. At our first meeting, he handed me a stack of patents to review on some of his new discoveries, well over 1,000 pages. Thank you, Jim. This was just the start of many meetings where kind of the quality and quantity of his work became very apparent. Jim has indeed amassed an incredible body of published work from his research, including 550 journal publications and an inventor on more than 90 patents. He has served on countless editorial boards and has received funding from numerous NIH institutes, the NSF, and many private institutions and companies. In recognition of his accomplishments, he received the UW System Innovator Award, the UW Milwaukee Innovator Award, and has been elected as a Fellow of the Royal Society of Chemistry. At the fundamental science level, Jim's work is well known in the fields of alkaloid and organic synthesis. He was instrumental in advancing the Pictet-Spengler reaction, where his group accomplished total synthesis of hundreds of compounds having important biological and therapeutic activities. His group advanced the widely known Weiss-Cook reaction, which is key in organic synthesis and is fundamental in understanding bonding theory in organic chemistry. For decades, Jim has been on the forefront of designing drug compounds that selectively modulate the benzodiazepine receptor. These compounds affect discrete cells in the brain and regions that allow narrowly tailored therapeutic activities. For example, compounds are being developed from Jim's work for seizure and epilepsy, for anxiety, for neuropathic pain, depression, schizophrenia, Alzheimer's disease, tic disorders including Tourette syndrome, trigeminal orofacial pain, and migraine, and agents to treat drug abuse, just to name a few. These receptors are also targeted in certain parasitic diseases, such as schistosomiasis, and in peripheral inflammatory diseases, such as asthma. Jim's discoveries in medicinal chemistry, as I think Lisa had mentioned, have led to many families of novel compounds that are the center of several drug development ventures. To name a few, again, just a few, he co-founded Milwaukee's Prometheus Pharmaceuticals, which has advanced drugs to phase 2 clinical trials. Another series of compounds for resistant epilepsy and chronic pain have been licensed to Respirix Pharmaceuticals in New Jersey. These compounds are particularly important to treat chronic pain while avoiding opioids. Yet another series of compounds has shown efficacy in peripheral inflammatory disorders, such as asthma, and have been licensed to Pantherix Incorporated, for which I'm the CEO. A series of compounds has shown promise in 3 types of cancer, which has led to his co-founding of Amlal Pharmaceuticals. And then more recently, work in collaboration with neuroscientists at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health in Toronto has led to compounds licensed to Dimona Pharmaceuticals, which are being developed to treat depression and Alzheimer's disease. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, one of the most enduring legacies of Jim's academic career has been the group of 75 students who received their PhDs under his mentorship. These people are now contributing around the world to careers in academia and industry and government. Countless undergraduates first learned organic chemistry, and it was painful for many of us, from Jim as a teacher. And these students also had their first real experiences in authentic research working in Jim's lab, and then being inspired to pursue careers in science and medical fields on their own. So Jim, if you would like to come up.
Okay, now everybody's got to stand.
Jim, on behalf of the many students, colleagues, collaborators, and business partners, I would like to congratulate you on this richly deserved award. You have touched many lives, and we are all grateful for the immeasurable impacts you have made on scientific innovation and excellence in Wisconsin.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's my pleasure to present to you this year's Hector F. DeLuca Scientific Achievement Award.
I love this. This is great.
This is great. You know, he gave my whole talk. This is terrific.
I left out a few diseases. So
No. So I don't have to talk about all the startups that we're really involved in now, or the things that we've really dealt with. But so now I can talk about thanking people and sort of the journey along the way. First and foremost, I want to thank the committee who nominated me, and Mike, Lisa, and Riza, who've really taken great care of Gloria and myself. Been a joy to get the award and work with Mike as we went along. And, you know, it's sort of embarrassing to get any award that's dedicated to Hector DeLuca. Okay, I really, and, you know, I used to work with WISIS, with Maliakel John, Beth Donnelly, and Lisa, and Mike Sensi. And Maliakel would sit me down once in a while and talk about Hector's scientific exploits probably 25, 30 years ago. And it's really nice to get an award in his name. Doug, thanks for the really great introduction and making my life much easier. You all know, most of you know Doug Stafford, okay? And we were lucky enough to hire him as the director of the Milwaukee Institute of Drug Discovery. And he really lifted the place. And I have to talk about Mrs. Cook, who I brought here. But I need to talk about Doug first. Sorry, sweetheart. Okay? We hired Doug, and he single-handedly got a $3 million mass spectrometry center set up at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And it was through the state government, WISIS, WRF, and the state government and the University of Wisconsin system and Shimatsu. So he conned Shimatsu out of about $1.5 million and then matched it with Wisconsin funds. And this is really a great mass spectrometry center. We can take brain slices and image these just like many other big institutions can. And it's been a real lift for us. And, you know, Doug helped everybody on campus, and he certainly helped me in my lab. And so thank you, Doug, for everything you did. I hated it when you retired, all right? Secondly, I need to thank Gloria Cook, who is the reason why I am here, all right? I was going to go to Ohio State for graduate school. But I didn't go to dreaded Ohio State, but I went to dreaded University of Michigan, okay? Sorry. Anyway, I was lucky. I met Gloria at WVU in the undergraduate lab, and she was so attractive, it took me 6 months to talk to her. And a TA introduced us in our sophomore year, and she really loved structure determination by spectroscopy. So did I. And so I finally got a chance to talk to her. And she's a crackerjack chemist, was a crackerjack chemist, and she was district manager for Wyeth Thirst Pharmaceuticals for many years. So she made money so I could play in the lab, all right? This is the way it worked in Europe anyway. So we were at WVU, West Virginia University, and she had graduated a semester before me, and she had a great job at Park Davis in Ann Arbor. And so I was going to Ohio State. She was going to join me. We had our furniture, and we had it actually put away. I had a TA ship at the January term, and her boss sat her down and said, you know, you got a really good job here at Park Davis, Gloria. Are you sure you want to go to Columbus? So she called me up on a Friday, and her boss said, you know, talk to Jim. So I managed to talk to her, and she said, would you come to Michigan? And I paused for a minute because I loved Ohio State at that point. But then I thought, you know, she's really good looking and she has a great job. And so this is ridiculous. I'm going to Michigan. Her boss on a Friday afternoon said, okay, I'm going to try to do something and see if I can get Jim in here at Michigan in the January term. By Sunday afternoon, he called her and said, Jim is in Michigan. He has everything he has at Columbus all right? And do you think he's going to come? Well, of course I'm going to come, okay? Are you kidding? And we had a great time in Michigan in our postgraduate work. We worked with Phil LeCain, terrific, and he's the one who taught me to love endo-alkaloids. And endo-alkaloids will either cure you, like quinine, or they'll kill you, like strychnine. So there's always interesting biological activity. And so we enjoyed that, the Michigan time there. But I want to go back even farther than that. When I was in high school, I had a high school chemistry teacher, very good, named Addison McClanahan, and knew I liked organic chemistry, so he called a chap up who owned Roberts Chemicals and said, you know, we'll let Jim come out and work there, you know, after school. So I started working after school when I was 15 and a half in a chemistry lab, in a company. Only hired 100 people. We sold things to Alfred Bader that really stunk and were terrible, okay, but Alfred made a fortune out of it. But, you know, the beauty of this was Elmer Fike, who ran this company, was a great teacher, and Denny Woods, who was also the lab manager, was a great teacher. So I washed dishes for 3 months, then I did analytical tests, and then I worked in the lab. And then as things would go on, things that you could develop in the lab, they would let me take to the pilot plant. So I got to work in the pilot plant. Well, I worked there for 6 years, so 2 years in high school and then every summer. And I learned one thing all young people should learn: overtime, okay? And there was plenty to do, and so in the summer, I'd work 70 hours a week, 60 hours a week, 50 hours a week, and the 50 hours a week was a break, and we'd bowl every night at that time. I hadn't met Gloria yet, of course. But that was a really great education, and what I learned was to teach my students, all of which were graduate students, PhD students, how to scale reactions up. So we can do things on a milligram, 2 milligrams, but we can do them on 100 grams, 500 grams, or kilograms. And the one thing they learned is an important word: exothermic, all right? Because this is part of why we do this. But the beauty of this is that we have 30 collaborators around the world, and many of them are looking at the drugs we've developed that are specific, that Doug talked about. But they're looking at them in different models. So we have a group that look at them in primate models. We have groups that look at them in genetic mouse and rat models. And they are great collaborators. I'm sure they're smarter than me, but I'm not going to tell them, okay, all right? And it's really been terrific. Now, I'm supposed to retire, but I'm not going to, all right, as Doug well knows, and so does Gloria, because it's just too much fun. Now, when I came to UW-Milwaukee, I have to tell you that the PhD program had just started, and I had no intention of staying. I was going to work hard, try to do well, and then move on. And, you know, I knew I could move to a company. I mean, I had 6 years experience in one. But what I didn't know was how good the students would be at UW-Milwaukee. I could not believe it. And it's because the faculty were out recruiting. Not me, I went out, yes, but they were recruiting students in Wisconsin, in Illinois, all over, overseas, everywhere. And the graduate students were so good, I couldn't leave. And I had counteroffers, all right? And every time I looked at one, either Gloria didn't want to leave, okay, or I couldn't move the students because they took a job, they came, started working for me, and then they brought a wife or a spouse over, okay, who went to graduate school or had a job, and I couldn't move them. And it's because they were so good. And I'm amazed at how good they were. They could have gone anywhere. And that's how really I got here. And Jessica Savalgi is our patent genius, as I call her. And I had to teach them 2 or 3 things. One is, you have to do something original, or Jessica will never put you on a patent. You can't just do what I tell you, all right, okay? And, you know, of course they had to do things that were original. They were PhD students. But the thing that was interesting too is that the undergraduates I had were terrific. When I went to UW-Milwaukee, I had 5 undergraduates who joined me in the second year. They were as good as graduate students by the time they graduated. I mean, they were really terrific. They're doctors, lawyers, and they own companies now. And we had ones over the years just like that. So it was really a lot of fun. But they talk about publish or perish. I wouldn't do this science if I couldn't publish it. Are you kidding? I want somebody in Africa to use something that we've designed. So, and that really played a major role because we were looking at these 6 different Valium receptor subtypes, and there's one subtype, the alpha-1, that's basically sedating, ataxic, leads to tolerance, and leads to dependence, and that is the one we do not want. Everything we design, if it's ataxic and sedating, we throw it out. We don't want it. We're not putting people to sleep. And what that's allowed us to do is get subtype selective ligands for the other receptor sites. Negating alpha-1, absolutely. And we've been able to give those to collaborators, and those have worked really well. I won't go through all the science, but Doug already talked about the companies. Anyway, it's those collaborators that have really helped us start companies and helped us design drugs. But I really have to tell you, I have a great set of colleagues, a great set of graduate students. I've had great undergraduates, and it's been really a joy to be at Milwaukee. And I'm occasionally scared of Jessica, our patent guru, okay? But other than that, it's been really nice, all right? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cook, for your brilliance and great presentation, which is demonstrated through over 90 patents. I can't believe he did it with you being, you're tough. You're tough. And look at Doug. Okay, you didn't get a standing ovation, but you came before his wife. Come on. That was pretty impressive. So, all right. So now we move on to the 2022 Wisconsin Business Achievement Award. We've had phenomenal past awardees from Bill Linton, Ralph Conton, Cynthia LeConte, Kevin Conroy, Laura Johnson Douglas, James Weber, and last year, Terry Severson. So when I talked to Nancy about accepting this award, she asked me, why me? I'm not a large company. I'm not that well known in the community. And my reply was an easy one. What she has accomplished to build a successful protein contract service company that has survived over 30 years against major competition is a testament to her scientific expertise, leadership, and team. Kareen, my team member up there, and I know very well what it's like to be a small company against the big guys that have marketing budgets, business development teams, international sales forces, just the manpower to take down smaller companies. Thus, as a small company, you need to provide outstanding products, quality, service to maintain and grow your customer base and create a reputation where customers come back to you and not the larger competition. You will hear from our emerging growth companies, there are so many struggles when you were building companies and then trying to keep that in business for over 30 years. It is so difficult. So I'm going to read something from our mission, and I love this. Our mission as a CRO, honed through the years, has become simple: to give clients honest, meaningful results as fast as possible. Our client's success is our success, and conversely, their failure. And conversely, their failure means that they won't be back. So with that, this well-deserving woman absolutely deserves this Business Achievement Award. I had to argue with her. You can see. I had to write up a whole bunch of stuff because I'm like, you're taking this award. So with that, I would like to introduce Mark Jackson, who will be presenting the 2022 Wisconsin Biohealth Business Achievement Award. And you also do not get a standing ovation.
So, like everyone else, I have a daunting task to introduce Nancy. Again, hello everyone, and my name is Mark Jackson. I'm the CEO of Advantage in Biosciences, but as you know, we're here today to celebrate a close friend of mine, Nancy Kendrick. She is receiving this award. And I guess this is the problem is I haven't presented anything since before COVID. In presenting this, I did take some time to think about how I met Nancy and how long I've known Nancy. And it seems like it was just yesterday that we met, but it turns out that we've known each other for more than 20 years. And that original meeting was just before the year 2000. And I think what we were discussing was the upcoming Y2K event and the fears that everyone had about Y2K. So we talked about it and we agreed that nothing is probably going to happen. But I believe one of us had an extra 100 pounds of rice just hanging around. So I've known Nancy a very long time. And since this first meeting, there's been several Friday night fish fries, several discussions around science and business. And, and like Nancy, I'm a scientist. So whenever there's a business issue or a business question I have, Nancy's one of the first people that I go to discuss that issue. And to date, she's always sent me in the right direction. She's always given me stellar information and stellar advice. And she's really taught me a lot. And this is, and I wanted to say, this is also cheaper than the lawyers I have to talk to later today. So Nancy's company, Kendrick Labs, analyzes protein for purity and many other characteristics. But that's not really, and this is hard for me to actually say, that's really not the key to her success. And granted, every small company has to focus on the marketplace for your product or your service. They have to focus on the costs and maintaining and keeping those costs down. But it's really the people and the ability to attract exceptional people. And that's really what Nancy has in spades. She's created, or she's attracted an extraordinary group of people, an exceptional group of people, and she's created what I would call an exceptional culture. And Nancy, Nancy is the person who's responsible for that. So, to keep it short so that we can continue on with our day, with no further ado, it is my honor and privilege to introduce the scientist, business owner, and friend, and the 2022 Wisconsin Biohealth Business Achievement Award winner, Dr. Nancy Kendrick. So this is not exactly how we rehearsed it, but this is the award. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Well, I'm honored to receive this award, truly honored. But I do realize that I'm getting it because my fellow team members have kept the business strong. And I'm grateful to them all, and especially to the 3 managers here with me today. John Johansson, our lab manager, they're all at that table. Matt Holter, our Western Blot manager, and Christina Rose, our quality assurance manager. You guys are great. So, I think not many women my age have founded biotech companies, so I thought you might be interested in how I got started. So going way back, I was lucky to get into grad school at Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis in the neurobiology program back in the 70s. So I've been around a while. And I came from a small state college, and WashU is really a great school. It's incredible. The first year was really hard for me. I just studied all the time. But then once I got the hang of it, and I knew that I was going to make it, I kind of raised my head and looked around, and I noticed that there were a fair number of women graduate students, but there were only 2 women professors in the whole medical school, including the Department of Physiology that I was coming from. And then additionally, all the medical students, all of them were men. And this was like puzzling. So I discussed this with one of the med students, and I said, he said, Nancy, we can't give any of these precious slots to women. You know how expensive this school is, how hard the coursework is. A woman med student would be using her prime childbearing years to get this degree, and after graduation, she just quit to raise a family. It's obvious this education would be a total waste for a woman. And I was like, you know, that was a long time ago, but I still remember this thinking, what? How? So I just, kept my head down, and then after graduating WashU, my first husband, and he was one of the nice med students, and I decided to move to Madison, Wisconsin, and it's a great city, and you all know that it is and why we've moved here. He put all his residency choices here, and I did the same for postdoc positions. He got in at the UW, and I got my first choice, which was the DeLuca lab, which everybody knows about. And so back in the 70s, late 70s, the DeLuca lab was a large, vibrant research lab focused on all things vitamin D, as you know. Some postdocs, graduate students focused on synthetic chemistry, and many of us others focused on biology, on the mechanisms of action of vitamin D. Had a reasonable number of women. Nobody was counting or anything, maybe 50%, I don't know. Hector was a great mentor. He's brilliant. And the lab, the lab was a happy lab. We worked hard, we played hard, there were great parties. After a couple of years, though, it was time to think about where I was going to end up. And traditionally, everybody on the track that I was on wanted an academic position. And my postdoc women friends, I could see them ahead of me a little bit, who went on job interviews, pretty much didn't get jobs. And the men, often did, because it was a great lab. And I went on one job interview, and it ended. It wasn't good. I won't go into it. But I thought about it, and I realized that academia wasn't a very good match for me. I wasn't a good match for it. I didn't like the idea of publish or perish. I'm kind of slow to publish. Spending every weekend writing for grants. I don't know. So I was raised on an Illinois dairy farm, which is like having personal lessons for how to be an entrepreneur. One of the lessons was enjoy what you're doing, enjoy your work. And so I thought about it. The technique I'd been using at Hector's lab, 2-dimensional electrophoresis, was complicated. It was hard to standardize. but it gave amazing results for protein research. So what I did was I went out and queried a bunch of professors around the UW campus. And I asked them if I set up a business doing 2D gels, would they use my service? Would they hire me? And everyone said, yeah, sure we would. That's a notoriously hard method to set up. So I decided to start a business. And I had an inheritance, it turns out, it was sad, but it allowed me to sidestep barriers for many people who were, just starting out. Then I went and talked to Hector about my idea, and he cautioned me. He was kind, he was kindly, and he said, this might not work out, and then you'll be out of academia and you might get stuck. So he said I should go half-time for a while. And I thought that was pretty good. He made me an offer that I could, do that, and I did. So I started setting up a business in the basement of my house, which is on the east side of Madison near Shinks Corners. And it was exciting. And it turns out if I bought a case of beer and some pizzas, my friends from the DeLuca lab would come over and help me set up. And they did my plumbing. And then I got a phase 1 SBIR grant, and then I got a phase 2 SBIR grant to standardize and further develop the method. And with that, I could hire John Johansson down there, the lab manager now, and we were on our way. So that's how I got started. And times have changed. I want to assure you, last week I Googled Washington U Medical School female enrollment in 2021, and it's 52% of the class. Incredible. And the physiology department at WashU now has 40% women faculty, and it was, back in the day it was 0. So I'm pleased to say the playing field for women is not crazy bad anymore. And I don't know, I think it's probably fine. So enough of looking back. I want to just say how I feel about the future of biotechnology. I think it's going to be cancer therapy. Precision medicine, as you know, focuses on using next generation sequencing to identify drug targets. That is, they find the DNA with a mutation and then make a drug for the protein that comes from that DNA. And there's some problems in that sometimes the proteins aren't expressed, and sometimes they're not active unless they're modified by post-translational modifications. And that's when proteins get made in your body and then they go out and change each other, like with a phosphorylation or something, and that changes how active they are. So when things are slow at work, we do in-house research using our 2D method. It's a great method. So we've, over the past, 10 years or something, we've purchased about 20 lung and pancreatic cancer tissue samples from a biobank. And then we used something called Western blotting, where you use an antibody, you run a 2D gel, and then you can use an antibody to see what proteins are there or what post-translational modifications are there. And we were just looking at things like transcription factor, yes, associated protein, which is supposed to, genomically it looks like it's associated with pancreatic cancer. And then phosphotyrosine, which is an activating PTM for receptor tyrosine kinases, which are known cancer drivers. And I won't go into the results, but they were fascinating. And you can clearly see that some of the tumor samples have one marker or another, but not all of them. Cancer is very heterogeneous. And so I think that, if you read literature, I read a lot, and there's a growing number of biomedical scientists that say the way forward for cancer is proteogenomics, where protein analysis is used to guide next generation sequencing diagnoses. And I think for that, the devil's in the details. And there's an army of biotech scientists that are very good at details. And I think the future is bright for us. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Okay, so for all the young women out there, and even for me, you know, we always talk about women blazing the trail, right? Did this lady just burn it down for all of us? I mean, do you see what she just did? I mean, the obstacles that get before, I mean, it's amazing that you can do something like that. I just wish you had blazed down those briar patch that I fell into, and then I would not have been injured, wouldn't have needed anyone stopping, nothing, so I've been fine. So anyway, thank you so much to both of you. It is such an honor, and what great talks. It's so inspirational to hear these talks every year, and it just really means a lot to me personally to be able to honor people that are making such an impact in the state of Wisconsin and to human health. Thank you so very much once again.